Check. Okay, I'm sorry. I've got it fixed. I see what the problem was now. So I have to start all over again. I am so sorry. First of all, I was saying I was supposed to call you yesterday and I did not, and I apologize for that. I needed to get my head in a better place. This Sunday is Father's Day. I'm going to be preaching on Father's Day. Susie says no sound but good to see. Hopefully you can all get sound now. I'm going to stop talking until I see somebody say that they can hear me. Loud and clear. Thank you. Okay. So this Sunday I'm preaching on Father's Day. That's all I can tell you right now. I haven't figured out what scripture I'm going to use or what my theme is going to be, other than it's going to be a message for fathers. Sometimes I preach to fathers. Sometimes I preach about fathers to people who are not fathers, so you can help us be better fathers. I haven't decided for sure what I'm going to do, but it will be about Father's Day, and after that, I'll be starting a new series. I haven't planned the series out yet because I am way behind on planning. Usually at this point, I would have not just the summer plan, but I would be planned all the way through to Christmas by now. At this point, with my sermon, with I would have almost all of my sermon topics laid out. But with all of the special challenges of the past 3 months, I am way behind in my planning. And I wanted to put that up front to let everybody know that there will be a change of pace this weekend, and I'll say more about that in a minute. First, I want everybody to know how much I love this congregation. I mean, I truly love this congregation, and I don't ever want to hurt anyone, especially members of the congregation. My goal always is to help people grow in their faith and to grow closer to God. That's always what I'm trying to do. I know it doesn't always come out that way. So with that in mind, I'd like to apologize for the debacle that was Sunday's sermon. And some of you are probably hoping to hear me say that. Others of you are probably surprised that I'm saying that because the sermon was loved by the people who already agreed with what I said. And it was hated by those who did not. And to be perfectly frank, there is no point in preaching a sermon that is like that. If a sermon is only liked by the people who agree with it and is just hated by people who disagree, that doesn't help. That hurts. I'd say that's what's wrong with our country right now. Everybody's preaching to their base and ignoring everybody else or not caring if they offend everybody else. And I don't want to be a part of that. And it's apparent to me that this past Sunday, that is how I came across. And I made things worse, not better. And that means that I badly misjudged my approach to this. Um, Part of the reason is I think part of the reason I misjudged my approach is because over the past week, all of the comments on Facebook have been very positive about the comments, about the things that I've been saying. And the people who have not had anything good to say about what I've been saying um, have not said anything. All the Facebook comments have been good. I received 2 emails last week, and they were along the lines of, I agree with some of what you're saying, but I'm struggling with some of the other stuff that you're saying, and here's where I struggle. And I appreciate emails like that because it tells you that people are listening and that they're engaging, and I always tell them thank you for this email, and I understand that this is difficult for you, and I understand there's more than one way to look at things. So based on the comments on Facebook and based on the emails I had gotten, I did not expect people to react the way they did to the sermon on Sunday. Perhaps I should have. If I had understood in advance the way it would land on people, I would have done it differently, or perhaps just not done it at all. I don't know who any of the people are who are upset. Their names have been redacted in the reports that have come to me, but the people that they have taken their concerns to have conveyed the content of the complaints, but not the source of the complaints, which is for the best. And other than apologizing for messing up the sermon. Um, because the comments that have come to me have been specific in their concerns, I do want to address at least some of those, um, because some of them were kind of questions, and I want to answer those questions. One is one person asked if the bishop was making us preach on things like this. And the answer to that question is absolutely not. Um, so, do not blame the bishop, blame me. No bishop in my lifetime has ever ordered us to preach on anything. They have asked on occasion. They'd say, "Hey, this is a day that that we're hoping that all the pastors in the conference can deal with a certain topic." But it has always been an ask. There has never been any follow up. Did you or didn't you? There's never been anything like that. And this bishop has never done that, even to my knowledge. I don't think she's ever asked us to preach on a particular topic on a certain day. Not. I can basically. I'm pretty sure I can say that I'm 100% certain that she's never done that. Um, the bishop doesn't have any idea what I preach from one day to the next. The bishop's never attended our services. To my knowledge, she's never listened in on them. I do know that our DS occasionally, at least, she's listened in at least once. I know that because since all of our churches went online for the pandemic, she told us she was going to do her absolute best to listen to each of our online services, and she did a couple weeks ago. Maybe it might have been a month ago now. I don't know. And let me know afterwards. Hey, listen to your service today. That was great. So I know she listened at least once. I don't think she was listening in on Sunday. I think she had told me if she was. But I pick my own topics. I've always picked my own topics. One person asked why I advocate getting your news on Facebook. And I do not advocate getting your news on Facebook. I see a lot of articles shared on Facebook. Most of them are not legitimate news articles. They're from satirical websites that people have mistaken for being serious websites. And I'm always checking stuff. The way I read news is I go to news aggregators, and those are websites that pull articles topically. So they'll have a collection of articles on this topic and a collection of articles on this topic, and they pull from a wide variety of sources, ranging from very liberal to very conservative, so that you can see what everybody is thinking on that. And the one that is the best, I'm going to share with you. I've shared it before. It's allsides.com. And that is a website that does two things. The top 3 links each day are, these are the 3 hottest news topics right now, and this is how left, right, and center news outlets are covering the topic for those 3 topics. And then below that, they have another section that says, these are all the topics that are getting the most coverage in conservative media right now. These are the topics that are getting the most coverage in centrist news media, and these are the ones that are getting the most coverage in liberal news media, so that you can see that it's not just that the 3 branches of the media are giving different outlooks on different stories. They're actually covering different stories. So that's a very good place to get your news, and I recommend that. I certainly do not go on Facebook to get my news. I go on Facebook to find out how people are doing and to find out what people are saying. And I've got about 650 friends, I think, on Facebook, and far fewer followers on my pro page. I don't think I even have 100 followers on my pro page. I could be wrong on that. I have to go and check. I don't pay as close attention, and they are from all the churches I have served, and they are also friends of friends and just people that I've known from all over. And I go on to find out what people are saying and thinking, and it's a good way to, at least to a degree, obviously not as good as I thought, way to find out what people are thinking and saying in the community. Not to get news. Now, all of the people who were upset with the sermon on Sunday, based on the conversation, a lot of people called Joan, and she said the common denominator, and I think she's probably right, is that everybody who was upset took issue with me asking people to stop talking. Not in the service. I didn't ask people in service to stop talking. I asked people in general to stop talking. And at the outdoor service, I did use the phrase "shut up and listen." That was a very, very bad choice of word. Not listen to me, but shut up and listen to other people right now. As a blanket statement for all of us, that was a very, very bad choice of words. Preaching outdoors, I'm a lot farther away from people than I normally am. It's harder to read body language. I thought that people were reacting differently than they were. I thought that they would think that was funny. Um, Clearly, they did not, and I should never have said that. Um, Nobody likes to be silenced. Everybody wants to feel heard. I absolutely understand. I'm the same way. I certainly hate it when people say, you don't have a right to have an opinion on this topic. And I don't believe that. I believe everybody has a right to have an opinion. This is a free country. We have a right to our opinions. We have a right to express them. We have a right to say whatever we want to say. And of course, with that freedom comes responsibility. And the first rule of Methodism is do no harm. And I try to do no harm. I do not always succeed in that. When people in a congregation are saying things that are potentially hurtful to others, which I want to be clear is that this was happening in our congregation. There were people saying things in the community and saying things online that were hurtful and making the situation worse. And when that happens, it is not just my right, but my responsibility as a pastor to say to people, you need to calm down. And if you can't calm down, you need to quiet down. Um, Obviously, that needs to be said in a way that is hopeful and loving. And I tried to do that. I'm told that I failed at doing that people did not hear hope or love in the sermon on Sunday. At least a good number of people didn't. And, I feel like maybe if I was a better preacher, I could have found a way to say that in a way that would have been helpful and not hurtful. But on the other hand, maybe we're just at a place where we can't talk about controversial subjects anymore. Before I was a preacher, the church that Becky and I went to, I was lucky if I agreed with half the sermons. Honestly, I don't think I agreed with that many of them. But when I went to church, I didn't expect to agree with the sermons. Just like we went to a church that was on the college campus. I didn't go to college to learn things that I already know, and I didn't go to church to hear things that I already believed. I went to be challenged. So I expected to disagree with a lot of what I was hearing. But I'm weird that way, and I know that I'm weird that way, but yet I seem to forget it sometimes that most people don't go out looking for things that they don't like to listen to. And also I forget that was a different era, and that we're not in the same place as a people anymore. Maybe those days are gone. I don't know. But for the record, I want to tell everybody that I hate preaching on controversial subjects. I really do. I just hate it. It completely drains me. It's exhausting. Even if it goes well and people respond well to it after I'm done with it, I'm just wiped out for a day. It's extremely stressful. I get nightmares. It's bad. And honestly, if I had known 25 years ago that I was going to spend most of my life trying to manage conflict in congregations, I don't know that I would have gone into ministry. This really is not what I signed up for. And of course, I didn't choose any of the controversies of our time. I do choose whether I'm going to talk about the controversies or not. And I'll be honest, once I completely swore it off. I said, I'm done with prophetic preaching, is what it's sometimes called in the industry, so to speak. Um, it's bad for me personally. It doesn't seem to help congregations. I'm just going to be a garden variety evangelical preacher. I'm going to stick to the absolute basic doctrines of the faith, things that nobody could possibly disagree with, and just preach on those topics. And I tried it for a year or so, and it just goes against every fiber of my being, because I was trained to write sermons with the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other, back when we had actual newspapers. And because God has something to say about everything going on in the world today, and that's how Methodism was founded. And my job is to try to figure out what it is God wants to say about the things that are happening in the world, and then to convey it to you good people in a language that you can both understand and embrace. And that's what I'm always trying to do. And sometimes I fail miserably. And this week was one of those times. And I am truly sorry. If I had to do again, I probably would not. So at this point, I'm going to go back to our So there you have it. I have spoken my piece, and I will not. I will not. I've spoken my piece, and I'm moving on. All right, Facebook user. I thought Sunday's sermon was spot on. Thank you. Susie says we're all human and we make mistakes. And Susie says disagree or question. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Susie, by disagree or question. Um, um, I guess, based on my reading of your question, the ideal situation would be that you would preach sermons that, first of all, cast a hopeful vision of what the world could be like, and then challenge people to do the things that need to be done to get to that. Um, and sometimes people are going to disagree. Oh, the church that I was going to. Um, flat out disagreed. We had sermons that were pacifist sermons, and I'm not a pacifist. We had anti-capitalist sermons, and I'm an economics major. I'm kind of a fan of capitalism, so I didn't appreciate those at all. But and I got angry sometimes, but when I don't. I certainly never threatened to leave the church over a sermon that I disagreed with. That doesn't happen to me often. It does happen though. Happened this week. Um, I don't know who, but there were a good number of people who felt that if this series didn't end soon, they would. Yeah, I never threatened to leave a church because the pastor was a pacifist, which I think is kind of crazy, or because the pastor was an anti-capitalist, which I think is kind of crazy. And I guess, I don't know, part of me sort of embraces the vision that the pastor should be a little bit crazy, that they should sort of be on a different page from everybody else, not be, and I'm on a different page from those guys, obviously. But you can preach as an outsider or you can preach as an insider, and there are things that you can say as an outsider that an insider can't get away with. There are more things that an insider. There are also things that a person who was an insider can get away with saying certain things that an outsider can. In other words, so if you're an outsider and you're coming to preach at a congregation, you can say things that another person couldn't say because you're getting on a bus the next day and you don't have to deal with the fallout. But if you're an insider, you can say things that an outsider wouldn't have the credibility to say. So I'm not sure that actually gets back to what I was saying about agreeing or disagreeing. I expect preachers to come from a different perspective, I guess, than me. because what I want. Rex doesn't want to hear controversial things at church. He hears enough about these things on TV in a regular conversation. We'd rather hear more from the Bible, not mentioning politics. That's why he was not at the service on Sunday. I understand. I feel bad about that. Um, and then herein lies the dilemma, because church is supposed to be a safe place, and and that's why church is supposed to be a safe place, and that's why I never mention political figures anymore. Um, you have not heard me over the past month repeat anything that any elected leader has said. You've not heard me comment on anything any elected leader has said. I keep that completely out of the discussion. I want church to be a politics free zone now, because it needs to be a safe place, and politics isn't a safe topic anymore. Um, at the same time, though, if the world's on fire around us and we can't talk about it at church, where will the solution come from? And obviously, what I did on Sunday didn't work. I mean, if we're going to talk about things controversial in church, it needs to be done in a way that is safe, so people feel that they can. So people don't have to feel like they're afraid to show up because they don't want to feel that they're going to be insulted or talked down to, or anything like that. How do you accomplish that? See, I guess and here's me needing hope. I need to believe that there is a way out of this for our country, and as a pastor, I need to believe that the church is going to offer that way. And I just have a hard time understanding how the church is going to help us solve the biggest problems of our day if we're not going to talk about the biggest problems of our day. Um, I don't know what else to say about that. It's a dilemma for me. It really is, folks. And obviously, there's no point in talking about controversial things if it's just going to keep people away. And at the same time, you know, I'm waiting for that leader to rise up who is going to pull us together. And believe me, I have absolutely no illusions of thinking that I am that person. I'd kind of like to be that person here in Mechanicsville for at least some of us, but obviously right now I'm not. So I apologize. Um, all right, let's see here. Well, thank you, Kayleen. Some people want it taken off the website. um, and I don't know. I'm not going to take it down. At least not as of right now. Um, between services, ask if anybody wants to meet and discuss and pray about the issue. Yeah, that would be ideal. Logistically, right now, it can't be done. One of the people asked why we wouldn't have dealt with something like this in a town hall meeting instead of in a sermon, and I guess my answer to that is I was kind of viewing these midweek Tuesday and Thursday things as those town hall things. I've been trying to solicit feedback from people so I can get a feel for where people are on stuff. And what I realize now is I was only getting half of the feedback. The rest of the feedback was going somewhere else or nowhere else. So these Facebook Lives have not functioned as town halls, and I thought that they were. I think that was probably my biggest mistake right there. Um, so yeah, it would be great to be able to get together and discuss. Right now we can't because our social distancing prevents it. We could have a conversation after worship in the parking lot, I guess. Except for right now, I'm doing Sunday school at 11, and I'm anxious to get that off of my hands and onto somebody else's hands as quickly as I can. So maybe in the future, but I think we're done with this one for now, Susie. I don't think we're going to be talking about this at church anytime soon. Um, so I haven't seen any joys or concerns come up. It's about 11:30. I want to wrap this up as quickly as I can at this point. I know that Irma had her surgery. I know that the goal was to get her up and walking around yesterday. I've not spoken with Irma yet. I honestly didn't talk to anybody yesterday. I I got an email on Sunday sharing some of the blowback from the service. I got another one yesterday, and I just needed some time to regroup and to lick my wounds a little bit. So I guess we all walked away a little bit bruised from the experience. Maybe it can be like those fight scenes in the movies where the two dude bros duke it out, and then they get up and they dust their knees off, and they go back to being friends again. Um, any other joys or concerns people want to lift up this morning? We've only got 11 people with us at the moment. It looks like I wore some folk out. I don't see anything else coming through. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for tuning in this morning. Those of you who have heard what I have to say on this, if you know anybody who's upset, I'm not planning on sending out an email apology right now. Benny, oh, thank you, Susie. Benny's doing great. Great to hear that. So we will thank God for Benny doing well. I don't see anything else coming through. Anyway, if you think that this morning's Facebook check-in is helpful, potentially helpful to people who felt wounded on Sunday, please encourage them to watch it. And if you think that I haven't helped at all, then please God, don't. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys, and I'm going to close us up with the Lord's Prayer today, but instead of using the church version, I'm going to use the version that I use casually in my own prayer life, my personal version. Gracious Father in heaven, may your name be revered. May your kingdom come, and may your will be done here on earth, as your will is done in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and fill our needs. And forgive us for our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from the time of trial, and deliver us from the evil one. For the kingdom and the power and the glory are all yours now and forever. Amen. God bless and have a great day, people. See y'all later.